Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the CTO Club podcast with me, Sam Baker. Today, we'll be talking all things startups with Quentin Dubois, who's the CTO of OSS Ventures, a startup studio from Paris. So first of all, I'm going to take a moment and pass over to Quentin to introduce himself.
Hello, Sam, and really happy to be with you. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to share. So my name is Quentin. I'm 43. I have a beautiful wife, 2 kids, and I'm the CTO and partner at OSS Venture. So OSS Venture is a venture builder and a fund whose mission is to accelerate the pivot of our productive model towards a desirable one. OSS created like 21 company, which 15 got launched, and we invested in 4 external company. Previously, I held position at a small beauty company called L'Oréal for 10 years, where I had the chance to live in Latin America for 5 years. And since 2017, I'm now working in the French and European startup world.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. So I guess let's dive in with some questions. And I guess my first question would be, if you could give me a bit of background and tell us about your role as the CTO of OSS Ventures. I guess what are your main responsibilities and your goals, I guess, in terms of your position?
Okay, so I have pretty much 2 responsibilities or 2 main goals. The first one is to create companies with the best tech possible, the right product, and the right organization. The right tech setup will be to help the founders that we have to make the small choice for them, so they will concentrate on bringing and building the value. So we have a startup project pack. So when they start the company, they don't have to worry about CI/CDs. They don't have to worry where it's hosted. They just have to worry on building the right product. And also we help them with our team, so they are not alone building the product. And even myself, when needed, building the project right along them. The other big responsibility that we have is to help our portfolio companies, meaning the company that are out of the program, and we want to be sure that whenever they have, at least on my side, like a tech issue, I am the first person they contact. And also we are making sure that the community that we have, because with all the company in our portfolio, we have about 150, 200 people working in tech, so they can use the community to help them to solve their problem. So that's so if I've done my job correctly, whenever they have an issue, they come to me first, meaning that we create the right relationship with them.
Okay, so you act as the CTO of OSS Ventures, but you also advise and act as a CTO for a time with your portfolio companies as well.
Yeah, and it's 2 different jobs. One is really like we are hands-on, we are in the trench with them. We are building the first version of a product, and we're making sure they are bringing enough. They are focusing on bringing the right value and focusing on creating business features and not thinking about anything else.
Cool. And what do you find most rewarding about working with early stage startups?
When we see that we have created a real company at the end of the program. I mean, we start with an idea, something very vague, and with our program, we see between 9 and 12 months, sometimes a little bit more, that at the end it's a real company, with real employee, with real business, that is bringing exceptional value to the first client. And we are also I am really proud to see them grow afterwards, as when they do the fundraising, when they get 10, 20, 30, 50 employees. And that's really rewarding for me.
Awesome. And I guess just as a follow-up question to that, I guess when did your responsibility with those companies end, or do you stay with them throughout their kind of journey?
And until there is an exit. I mean, we see ourselves as a company, as a team of entrepreneurs. So if they're still in our portfolio, we haven't sell our shares. We want to be with them as long as possible, and we want to bring value and real value, because since we are builder ourselves, I think they see us also as a real operational partner whenever they need us.
Okay. And I know the last couple of years, I guess in general in the tech market, has has been quite testing, especially for startups. What do you make of the startup space and the state of it over the past couple of years?
It has changed a lot since 2021. At the end of 2021, money was free, so you could raise money on a deck, and you didn't need to create a real company. Since there is a little bit less money in the VC world, we see that the company, or at least what we are pushing, the real company that are built, seems to be more attractive than just the big hyped one. And it seems that the tech bubble has burst a little bit, or at least that's the way I see it, except for GenAI company, because it's still like there's still a tremendous amount of money that has raised in those on those company. But for, let's say, more normal tech company that are not only focusing on GenAI, you need right now, before raising, to have like a real product, real clients, and real business opportunities that in the end will create a profitable company. So that's the company that we are, when we are in 2021, the company that we are creating, we're like, yeah, you're not ambitious enough, and now it seems that, oh, your company are great, they are more solid, that's the things I saw evolving in the latest year. And sorry for my French, but it seems that there is a bit less bullshit in also the company communication, right? At least from what I've seen since early 2022.
Yeah, it's certainly something I've seen in the market as well. It's just interesting to get your perspective, I guess, being in the trenches, as you say, and the forefront of the startup space and the funding that's been going on. I guess following on from that, when you do decide to work with a company, how do OSS Ventures support and kind of nurture the growth of that company from more of a technology perspective, I guess?
So when we are building one, as I told you, we are providing them with building blocks that will help them to go fast. That's the company that we are creating. Once they're out of program, or the one we invested in, the idea is whenever they got a problem, they can just talk to us, and we can either leverage we have an ecosystem of mentorship, we have a big community, or some a couple of months, help them to solve a very important business problem. We also have the other part of the teams, because it's not only about tech, it's also about sales, it's also about HR, it's also about product, it's about strategy and finance. So whenever we follow them on a weekly basis, we make an assessment about them on a weekly basis, and we try then to see, with all the resources that we have at our disposal, how we can help them best.
And do you have like an internal engineering team that you use for certain projects and help them if they need any support in certain areas?
Yeah, a very small one, a very focused one. So we usually don't say, okay, we're going to dedicate like somebody for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We say, okay, what do you need to get done? And we're going to work on impact-based project. So you need that. Okay, let's focus on that for 2 weeks. Let's do it with you. And if we're not 100%, that's not important, because we tell you that it's going to be ready in 2 weeks. And that's the only thing that's important. So, and that's how I want to manage my team. Okay, we want to be impact driven people.
Yeah.
It's not about being there and doing whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's good that you support them, I guess, in every facet of the kind of growth that they need, which is, I guess, what you guys are there for.
Yeah.
I guess following on from that, what are some common challenges, I guess, that your portfolio companies face in terms of technology? Is there anything like from a starting point that you've seen a lot?
Yeah, the most important one, I think, it's not doing tech for tech, but you're doing tech to support the business and to help the business grow. So it's always, whenever you take a decision regarding, let's say you have to change your architecture, you have to move from AWS to Azure, you have to do whatever, is will it help the business? Or let's say you want to rewrite your backend. Okay, is it important now? or is it a problem that you are inventing that you may have in the future? So the most important one is, what is the most important thing that you need to do now to help the business? I'll give you an example. Usually we help our company to go through cybersecurity certification very early. Why? Because when you start working on a cybersecurity certification when you're a 3 people company, it's going to be a lot easier to make and to install the right process right away than to do it like when you're a 20 people company. Yeah. So we help them to make the right choice, because we also learn from past failure. But the first question that you always have to ask yourself as a CTO of a startup is, okay, I'm very good with technology, but I'm not going to do something because I think it's fun to do it from a tech side, but I'm going to do it because it's going to help and support the business. So that's really like always the first question that you have to ask yourself as a tech leader. Sorry.
Okay, cool. And I guess from your position, I was wondering if you could share maybe some of your success stories of startups that have thrived under your guidance at OSS Ventures, and I guess particularly in terms of technology development, any companies that really stand out for you as, I guess, ones that you talk about quite a bit as being, some of your main success stories.
I mean, I could tell you about like all the company that are out of the program, because there's not one better than the other. They're just at different phases. Yeah. But I can tell you about Fabric, which is like a company that is doing lean management, a digital tool. Mercateam, a company that is doing planification and skill management on the shop floor. MyC, which is maybe one of our only company that is not focusing on manufacturing, that is a company helping big organization managing their employee medical records. We have Bonks, which is like no-code ERP, Energix, focusing on energy management in manufacturing, Cognix, Knowledge Graph in the manufacturing space. So all of those companies will help them and somehow. So focusing on one of them, I think, won't do justice. But every time we pretty much had the same process. Okay, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Okay, what cool technology we could use in order to go faster? Only if we go faster, not because we find it cool. And then build together. And in the end, I think what set up apart from other venture studios sometimes is that we really are in the trench with them. We are really, I mean, I'm coding every day for the startups, and I don't cherry pick one. I just do it for all of them whenever they need them, and be as close as we can from them, because it's the only way we think that we can help them in the long term.
Got you. And then moving on, what advice do you have for, I guess, aspiring entrepreneurs and startup founders when it comes to building and scaling their technology infrastructure?
Okay, first, start small. Don't overthink it. Don't overdo it for a problem you don't have yet, because speed is the essence. The only way a startup can compete with a more established company is that they need to go 100 times faster than an established company. That's the only way they can compete. Use managed services. I mean, because right now they're good. I mean, 10 years ago it was not there, but today, if you want to start, when you start small, it's not expensive. So use that. Don't get hooked on credits, like AWS credit, Azure credit, or GCP credit, because it's like heroin for me. Because you need to be in control of your budget, if you can. If you launch today an AGI startup or whatever, you might need to use them. But if it's a smaller product, don't get hooked on it. Don't use them. Ask for guidance. I can help anyone who needs advice. Because I've done it like more than 20 times. So, and we made a lot of mistakes. So I know I pretty much know what you need to start small and then accelerate. But yeah, and focus on business outcome. If you build something, it's either to test an hypothesis, and being wrong is not a problem. Sometimes it's better than being wrong than thinking that you're right and going in the wrong direction. Don't live in your head. You need to have people, you need to have real users at some point that are using the product. If you build something for 6 months and nobody using it, there might be an issue with your product or with your product ID. Business outcome, business delivery, and business value. And tech is a tool for that.
Yeah, just touching on something you said there. So I know you mentioned some kind of managed services and some of the cloud providers and the cost of those as well. I know clients that I work with at the moment have been facing fairly big issues with the cost of their cloud environments and the optimization of that. Obviously, from a startup standpoint, is it easier to manage and control that from if you kind of take that approach from the start rather than trying to eradicate it, I guess, when you're already a bit too far in and you have all of that kind of cost added in and you're trying to cut back on it?
If you don't get hooked on credit, then you have to manage it. Meaning that every month you have to see where you have to be careful on how many machines you start. You have to be careful on where your biggest costs are. I mean, I worked a lot with GCP, and I see that they have the same thing in AWS. You have like usually a FinOps tool within those tools, so you can manage that. And you need, I mean, as a tech leader, you need to be able to say to your, you need to understand what are your P&L mechanism, what is your business plan, and you need to be able to tell to the CEO how much you think that you're going to spend for the next months, 12 months at least, on infrastructure. If you're creating a SaaS company, it should be between, I think, if possible, between 5 and 10% of your revenue, not more, because if it's more, you may have an issue. And if you get hooked on credit, you don't look at it, and you don't know how much you buy, and at some point, whenever the credit will end, and then pretty quick, within a year, within like 24 months in time, you may end up with a failing business because the math don't have you. So I think it's really important for you as a tech leader to be aware and to have an idea from an architecture standpoint and from a human resources standpoint how much your team costs, and to know that it should be a part of your business plan, and you should be in control of those metrics. If you're not, I think you're not there yet, and you need to get educated on that.
Oh, thank you. And then the next question, I wanted to move on to more about how, I guess, OSS Ventures approach the selection process and, I guess, vetting process for the startups that are maybe seeking support and funding from you. And is there any particular qualities that you look for in a potential portfolio companies that could mean a yes or it could mean a no?
So as I told you, we have two ways of doing it. We either building it from scratch, and then we are mostly focusing on the idea, or at least the space we want to go for, and the founders, because you need to create a team of exceptional founders, usually with one tech and one business. And then the company that we are investing in, we invested in 4 companies sometime. We invested, in 4 companies already. And usually we fell in love with the team, and it's a company that we would have loved to build. And also a company that can contribute in our investment thesis, which is creating a better outcome for the manufacturing world and in the world of operation, because we think that we have a role to play in that, with everything that is happening in Europe, a lot of reshoring, and we think we have in order to make them competitive, we think we have a role to play in that.
Okay, and I know most of your companies are Paris-based, right, or at least in France. Is there any plans from your side to maybe expand that to other regions or countries in the future?
They are not only Paris-based. We have companies that have people. We have, let's say, remote first companies, and we have mostly a company that like to where most of the employees stay in the same office. We have a company that is pretty much remote first company, where you have people in Canada, people in Scotland, people in South Africa, and people in France, and not only in Paris, all over the place. when you create a company, or at least we've seen that at least for the first 6 to 9 months, it's better to be close to each other to foster innovation. Today, our team is in Paris. I don't know if we are going to create offices in other places, but the founder do not need to be French. For example, we have one of our founder is from South Africa. He doesn't have a perfect French, so we speak English with him. But I think to foster innovation, we tend to create the company, or at least to have like the people at least during the first 6 to 9 months to be with us, because we need to go to see clients. We need to be in the same room to innovate. I'm not against remote offices, but I think at least at the beginning, when you try to find your product market fit, you need to find a way to meet at least once or twice a week, in order to really to explore.
Okay, and the other question I was going to ask was in terms of like scaling your startup portfolios. I know the hiring market over the last few years has been tricky. I think probably since 2021, as you said. How do you address that, or how have you addressed it? And have you seen any issues with when you want to grow the team, but you haven't, potentially been able to?
I think it's tricky, yes and no. For some position, it's easier to recruit. I think you have less divas that you had like 2 to 3 years ago. The right and the smart one are still hard to convince. And we have an HR team internally that helps to scale the team, and sometimes we call like people like you in order to help us, because we think that it would be better if it's an external consultant that help us. And what I think what is harder is to get, when you're a young company, let's say with young founders, is to attract the right senior talents. That's the hardest thing. The more junior one, I think we are lucky enough in Europe and in France to have, I think, a very, very good level of education. And I think it's starting to get better than the US one, at least from on very technical and very profile. Business-wise, US are better. Product-wise, they are better. But we are seeing that the startup that are created, the US could not thrive without Indian and European talent. And sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but yeah, the hardest thing was to depending on where the startup is to attract the right senior talents, and to be sure that they have an impact right away, and they don't want to change everything, because that's the issue sometimes with senior talent. So I think that's the biggest, let's say, hurdle that we have when we try to scale the team. And then juniors or more medium, let's say, with medium experience that's easier to attract and to let's say develop.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. It's certainly a tricky balance, getting that kind of senior leadership who doesn't want to rip up the playbook and kind of start things over, and work quite closely with the co-founders to get to that common goal. So that makes complete sense. I guess just moving towards the end then, I guess finally, do you have any predictions for what the European startup space is going to look like in the coming months, in the coming years?
It's changing so much. I mean, just a year ago, we started playing with ChatGPT. If you look at AI, because everybody's talking about that, I'm thinking it's not going to do what everybody's going to think. What everybody's thinking. Sorry about that. I think it's good at some stuff, like we've seen with previous generation of deep learning. It's not good. It's not that omniscious. It looks like omniscious, but it's not. I mean, if you've been using, like at the beginning, people were using ChatGPT for everything. Now they know that it's good at some stuff, but it's not good at other. even with what we've seen with ChatGPT-O, okay, it's very interesting demo, but then how do you scale it and how do you add it in a product that you can sell without being hooked with OpenAI? Whenever they change the term, you pretty much end up with a lot of problem. So, and we're still learning how to use those tools. And if you look at compare US and Europe, so US, they are still leading the innovation because they have the financial landscape to do that, where risk is not an issue, where people can oversell a vision and sometimes it works. In Europe, we are more cautious, a little bit risk averse, but we have, as I stated before, I think a better education system overall than in the US, at least on the tech skills.
Yeah.
On product skills and business skills, I think the US is leading the way, and they have so much money to give in order to foster innovation. We have in Europe, but we are there. If you look at the investment, you don't see you see some. If you look at Mistral AI, there's another one that came out today called H, where a lot of money can be put on the table, but it's still less than in the US. The right to play for Gen AI is at least $200 million, 200 million euro. You don't see that often here in Europe. So I see a lot of very good startup created, better ones that just 2 years ago, because of the constraints. Since you have more constraint now, you're not going to get money that easy, so you need to be only the best one are getting out. But right now we still don't have the financial landscape in order to compete with the US. And also our market is not smaller, but it's harder to. We have a market a little bit bigger than the US one, but it's like several countries that you need to start. I mean, if you want to sell something in Germany, you need Germans. If you need to sell something in Spain, you need Spanish. Same in France, same in the UK. But I'm really excited, and I see that we'll have more startups, or I think we'll have more startups created in Europe and then thriving worldwide. At least on the European and US market. Asian market is like another world. But that's the way I see it, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty excited also by the quality of engineers that we are fostering in Europe. And I think it's one of the best education system with India that we have. But business-wise, we're still lagging.
That's good to hear. And do you think I know the funding's been down slightly over the last 2 years. Do you think that's going to I know it's starting to move in the right direction. Do you think that trend is going to carry on as, economic things work themselves out?
I mean, it's done. But I think you have good startups that are being funded.
Yeah.
But you don't have crazy valuation that you have. You don't have people scaling their team from 2 engineers to 50 in 6 months. And I think that's a good thing in the end. I think that's a because there is, at least that's my understanding, there is shortcuts in creating a huge business are really rare. So you also need a little bit of time to create the right team and scale it at the right pace. I see a more interesting startup landscape in Europe and in France right now, because I see better companies, and I think that's what matters. You see companies, and if you look at the last time it was done, like in 2008, like companies like Airbnb were created, Instagram, or so. It's usually not a bad time because people take more time. You have less scam, you have less. You have. I think you have better people creating companies because they have constraints, and I think you create better under constraint because you think a little bit more before doing, and it's not all about all marketing, all people like all salesmen that are saying, yeah, we're gonna create the next AGI company. It's a bit like that in AI, huh? I think still.
Yeah.
But the rest of the, let's say, tech ecosystem looks a little bit more mature, a little more poised, and I think the quality of the company are better. And they are if the company is surviving this winter, I think they will be in better position whenever, let's say, because it will at some point accelerate again.
Well, that's really good to hear. And as I said, I hope it kind of continues in that vein. But we've got to the end now. So thank you very much for your insights. It's been great to speak with you about all things startup. So hopefully that will give the listeners, some tips and insights into the life of a CTO builder, as it were. And hopefully I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Sam. And if anyone is interested in learning more, just give me a ping on LinkedIn, and I love to share. And really, really nice to be on your podcast, Sam, and talk to you soon, I hope.
Thank you. Bye-bye.